Family. You love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, happy Thanksgiving and welcome to a special holiday edition of the Craig Carton Show. Tyrone A. Johnson here as well. And appreciate you having us in your homes and your cars. You're sitting in traffic right now going, why do we always have to go to her house for Thanksgiving? Or at least we'll help you get you there over the next hour. Tons of football, tons of sports stuff. And happy Thanksgiving to you, Tyrone.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody out there.
Yeah, so we got 3 games today. You do need paid services, networks you might not have, unplugged, uncut, cordless, this and that. But it starts off 1 o'clock today Eastern time. You get Packers and Lions, and huge game because Lions are 7-4. Packers come in 7-3-1. Packers now have won back-to-back games. Even though Detroit beat the Giants last week, not great. Not great. And while they did come back in that fourth quarter and they got a huge win against the New York Giants, the Lions have not seemed right to me really all year. This was supposed to be the year when they came back from all the injuries they had last year. Even though they were the number 1 seed, they get beaten, obviously, by Washington in the first round. This was supposed to be the get-right year, right?
It was.
This was going to be the year. Everybody's healthy. Plug a couple little holes we might have. Jared Goff's going to be an MVP. Ahmad St. Brown's going to go over 2,000 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, on and on and on. And while they're in a good spot, obviously, at 7-4, the Lions have not looked dominant really at all this year. And they struggled big time against the New York Giants last week.
You know what? I think they really missed Ben Johnson. It's because the way they went with offensive coordinator, went with a younger guy, and now you have the head coach taking over play calling in the middle of the year.
Which is never a good sign. It means there's something wrong.
Right, and I think that's been the issue. This is a team that seems to be built to need to score 30 points consistently to win. Yeah. Their defense has a good pass rush, but you can't get a good pass rush going if you don't have a lead, and it's been an issue throughout the year.
Yeah, and then the flip side, Green Bay to me, I talk with Lil Wayne about Green Bay all the time. 3 weeks ago, Green Bay was done, like dead and buried, written off. They're not going to be better than the Bears record-wise. They're not going to catch Detroit, and maybe they'll be better than Minnesota. And then all of a sudden, bang, bang, right? Bang, bang. Not that they played great football, but they got back-to-back wins, kind of got, that rust off their body, kind of got the negativity out of the room. And now I can't figure them out. I can't figure out what Green Bay is. Like, you look at the schedule right there.
It's a very tough schedule.
The schedule's impossible.
A very tough schedule.
The final 6 weeks of the season. Because every team they play essentially is a playoff team.
Until they play Minnesota
Right.
last week. But, I mean, you got to play the Lions, then the Bears, then the Broncos, then the Bears again, then the Ravens, who will definitely need that game. That's a tough road.
Yeah, and I think Green Bay is actually playing better football right now than the Lions are.
They are.
Their schedule's impossible.
It's very hard.
Like, if you look at their, including today's game, 3-3, I think you sign up for that. And 3-3 gets you to 10 wins. Now that the tie they had with Dallas earlier this year is going to come into play with the wild card spot. There's no doubt about that.
There'll be no ties. There'll be no tie with them and another team.
So to me, I think for Green Bay to get in, I think this is a must-win game because of their schedule.
Right.
I think 3-3 would be a good final 6 weeks. It wouldn't be good if you're a Packers fan, obviously, but I don't see how. Look, could they win those games? Obviously they could, but they're not going 5-1.
No.
I think 4-2 would be tough. I think you got to go 3-3. I think 3-3, anything less than that, you're on the outside looking in. You're not a playoff team.
Yeah, it's tough. And
if you're Green Bay.
If you're Green Bay, the Lions have an easier road. Both of them need to be rooting for the Eagles and for the Eagles tomorrow when they play the Bears because that brings them back closer. No, they have to.
That is a huge game for the Lions and Packers, which we'll get to that game in a second.
Yeah.
And obviously tomorrow you'll be all over that game as Tyrone's going to be here solo tomorrow, day after Thanksgiving. So anyway, Green Bay, Detroit's how it all starts. Great. Mm-hmm. And then for me, the game of the day. And I don't gamble anymore. It's a good thing I don't, because I would have put everything I had on Dallas just so I could really enjoy the Cowboy win to the nth degree. Now, the Cowboys are underdogged at home.
Yes.
They're a 500 team. Finally got back to 500 after that great second half against your Birds last week. Down 21-0, come all the way back, and they beat Philadelphia. Kansas City needed overtime to beat the Indianapolis Colts. They got some help from the officials. But the one thing I know about the NFL, if there's one team that has typically been on the right end of bad calls historically, you got to figure it's the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Absolutely.
America's team. If I could just have one Thanksgiving wish today, other than pigs and blankets to start my day, obviously some Swedish meatballs midday, turducken right around kickoff, the hot turkey somewhere around halftime of Dallas, Kansas City, it would be for the officials not to be a factor. I don't want to go to sleep tonight with a big belly full of turkey, and I'm a dark meat guy, a big belly filled with dark meat turkey, saying to myself, son of a bitch, they did it again. If Kansas City can beat Dallas on merit, I'll acknowledge it on Monday, I'll own it, and I'll congratulate you. That's like if you could have like a Thanksgiving wish. I know a lot of people wish for other things out there. It's usually a selfish wish, like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to live to 100. That's selfish. And the Thanksgiving gods never answer selfish wishes. My wish is for humanity. My wish is for the NFL fan out there that is dying to see what happens when Kansas City plays without the advantage of the officials being on their side. Now, in 5 games this year, when the officials did not bail them out and they played a one-score game, they're 0-5. In the only one-score game that they won, the officials bailed them out by saying the Noah Gray catch on 3rd and 8 was a catch.
That and the roughing the passer, which led to their first score. And to their first score was directly from that.
So my Thanksgiving wish, and I know many of you have one as well, don't be selfish. Think about mankind. Think about your fellow cube mate. Think about your cousins. Think about people that you care about. Mm-hmm. We all, as football fans, deserve to have an honest ending to the Kansas City-Dallas game. And my feeling is, if we get that, you are going to see an improved Cowboy defense dominate the Chiefs' offensive line, and the Cowboys would win if we're playing on a level playing field.
See, that's where I can't go there. I can't go there yet. Dallas is going to have to prove something to me before I believe in them. We've seen Dallas have flashes for years.
Okay.
What we haven't seen from Dallas is consistency.
Quick question. right now in the moment, who's playing better at quarterback, Dak Prescott or Patrick Mahomes?
Dak Prescott in the moment.
Okay, right now in the moment, whose wide receivers are more productive? CeeDee Lamb and Pickens, or the guys lining up for Kansas City?
Pickens especially has been better than Lamb, so we'll go with that. But it's been Pickens more than Lamb as far as consistency.
Right. Who's running the ball better right now? Williams, who gets most of the carries for Dallas, or Kareem Hunt?
Hunt's been a good as far as when they finally gave him volume, but Dallas gets the credit there.
So we'd agree right now Dallas is playing better football than Kansas City.
Offensive football.
Yes.
Defense, a lot of that is what other teams do wrong, or they're playing bad teams, bad offenses. And I don't believe the Chiefs is a bad offense. Again, with Dallas, I'm not a believer in them anymore. I'm going to need to see consistency from them, and I don't think that's unfair.
Then, of course, we get to the nighttime game, and it might very well be the return of that's Joe Burrow smoking on that Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow might be back. We thought he might be back last week because he was a full go in practice. They obviously get blown out last week. I'm assuming he's back. T. Higgins is out, but Jamar Chase is back after the spitting incident. But the Baltimore Ravens are now in first place in the division. And while Cincinnati's got nothing to play for other than being a spoiler, I told you at 1-5, the Ravens were winning out.
That's what you said.
That being said, they've done that so far. They have not looked great. That first half against Cleveland a couple weeks ago, embarrassing. And for a couple of quarters, a couple days ago, also not very good against the New York Jets. That being said, it all comes together because the Bengals stink. And the Ravens win their 6th consecutive game and go to 7-5 for the nightcap.
You know what? I can't argue with you there, but I do think this game has a lot more intrigue than it did 2 weeks ago when it looked like it was going to be a laugher.
Because of Burrow.
And also, I want to see if Lamar is healthy. Short week with Lamar. That ankle, I don't think is sound. Is he healthy?
Well, we're going to find out. We got a great Thanksgiving show for you today, and we appreciate you listening. We got the trio of games. We got lots of other sports to get to as well. This is the Craig Carton Show, a Thanksgiving Day special. Thanks for checking us out.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Duke, you got to look at Cam Boozer. 18 points. The Bruiser, I may call him. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. I know he shot the ball 1 of 4 from 3, but he's showing his ability to really be a different player than his dad. A little bit more dynamic, a little bit more athletic.
College Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said earlier.
You got hit behind the line of scrimmage. You got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be, even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back to the Thanksgiving special here. It's the Craig Carton Show. These guys at Cameo keep asking me to do Cameo. I've said no for 5 years.
But why?
Because I think it's a little cheesy.
In what way?
Like, you have to pay me for me to be nice to you?
Well, it's not.
Or say hi to you?
No. Like, you can set some of those parameters. You don't have to answer everything.
So play that. Let's say I charge $50.
Yeah, you should charge more, but I get you.
But I'm making up an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
Like, you know how obnoxious that is? You need to pay me $50 for me to give you a 30-second video saying happy birthday or something like that?
Right, but...
And then the problem with that is, what if you don't get any?
Well, but no one would
like,
know.
you can't win. If people do it, I feel awkward charging people to do it. And then if people don't do it, it's like, ugh, that's embarrassing. Nobody wanted me to do it.
I will say this, though. I wouldn't pay because I know you. But that doesn't mean you don't have that status. I appreciate your humility. I've heard since doing this show, since September, just a couple months, from about 30 people I hadn't heard from in years.
I'm very popular. I know
and
this.
they want to talk to you.
I'm well aware.
Now, I perform a filter.
Yeah.
Like, I'll leave him alone. He's a busy guy.
But if I was charging them, and then you'd want to cut.
I don't want to cut.
Yeah, of course you would. You set me up to get a cut.
No.
That's why you brought it up. Because that's how it's going to go. Hey, Craig, Billy in South Philly is a big fan. I know him from the gym. Would you record a 30-second cameo? He'll pay you the $50. I'm like, all right, well, Cameo takes 30%. That's 15 out the door. That leaves 35.
I don't want
You're going to want a 10% finder's fee.
I don't want a fee.
So now my $50 became $32.50. No
I don't want a fee.
Of course you want something.
I was making that point to agree with our producer, Ethan, who believes people would buy them.
Yeah, but
that was the point.
Like you and Ethan, who nobody wants a cameo from, always think that other people should do cameos.
First of all, did you know that there were people who suggested I did do cameos? Gonna slide that in there. I would perhaps get less cameos than you, but I get some.
So then I was thinking, well, if I do it, why don't I make it like $1,000?
Yeah.
And like, if someone's dumb enough to give me $1,000, I'll record a video. Hell, I'll take. You can follow me around all day.
Well, now you got to add production value. That's the tough part. The more you charge, the more you have to do. If it's $50, you could be anywhere in traffic.
$50, I would need 20 people to do it to make the 1,000. Or I just say, just find one sucker out there who thinks I'm worthy of $1,000 for a cameo.
Right, but then you got to almost like, you can't wear a hoodie. You can't be wearing a backwards hat. You have to present yourself a certain way for $1,000.
This is what the people like.
Not for $1,000, they don't. They want more. It becomes a black tie affair. You got to damn near wear a tuxedo if you charge somebody $1,000.
I don't know. Like, the guy just sent me another text. He's like, I've been trying for 5 years. Like, are you ever going to say yes? And I almost feel bad about it now. But I'm not going to be like guilted into it.
I actually know a couple people who are on there. What most likely has happened is they're getting requests. And
people
that's
are like typing my name in to see if I'm available, something like that.
Or they're doing the email, and because they do that. They'll say, who would you like to see on Cameo? And you can go to that site and do that.
When I was on my government-sponsored holiday, we call that graduate school, some of us, right?
Yeah.
That's when I should have charged. Like, I had a lot of people write me letters, which I can tell you was one of the nicest things I've ever experienced in my lifetime.
I bet.
Like when the dude goes, Carton mail. I'm like, who wrote me a letter? I got like 50 letters.
Wow.
And like from people just for fans or like rooting me on. A couple bad ones in there as well.
Yeah.
I should have charged them. You want me to write you back? $100.
See,
in my commissary. Daddy needs tuna.
Now, at the time, also, right, you need, I mean, that's real stuff. That's real life.
Yeah.
You needed money on your books.
Yeah.
You needed money on your books.
Because how am I going to buy the mackerel so I can get my hair cut by the prison barber? I don't have any money.
Right.
You got traded mackerel and stamps, man.
So that's what you would have paid.
That's what I would have done, huh? Meanwhile, today is, of course, Thanksgiving. Hope you're having a great day, and we're having some fun with you here this afternoon, or this morning, I should say, pardon me. So, Dan Hurley is the legendary coach at UConn. And Dan Hurley celebrated Thanksgiving yesterday. Not today, yesterday, with his team. UConn has a game tomorrow. And Dan Hurley was asked, why are you guys celebrating Thanksgiving a day before Thanksgiving and not on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
And I'm going to read you the quote here. Do you guys have it, actually? All right, so I'll play it for you. Here's Coach Hurley, great coach. I wanted him for the Knicks in the worst way, talking about why the UConn kids celebrated Thanksgiving yesterday. Listen to this.
So, and just have a great Thanksgiving to everyone out there. We're going to celebrate our Thanksgiving on Wednesday as a team. We're going to eat what's in the turkey, Bobby? No. What makes people sleepy? Tryptophan. So we're not going to eat the tryptophan on Thursday and be sluggish as on Friday. So we're going to eat the tryptophan, the turkey and everything on Wednesday.
Now,
So
if
that
you ever
all the
weren't worried or thought, does my head coach dot all the I's and cross all the T's in preparation? There is no coach in America more locked in than Danny Hurley, who, and you heard him right there, he's concerned that if they eat turkey today, they'll be sluggish tomorrow because of the old wives' tale that turkey has a chemical in it called tryptophan, and tryptophan makes you tired. So I did a little research on this.
Yeah, I was hoping you did.
If you had to guess how much turkey a normal-sized grown man would have to eat today to be sluggish tonight, and let's even say tomorrow, fine,
Right.
all right? You want to take a wild guess?
I mean, I would
How
like
much
to.
turkey? Now remember, the average turkey Americans buy and serve at their dinner table is 22 pounds.
That makes sense.
So let's take 5 pounds of bones off that.
Yeah.
You got about 15 to 17 pounds of meat for the whole family.
Right.
How much turkey would you have to eat to be sluggish from the tryptophan?
I think it would almost have to be the whole thing because there's tryptophan in other foods. We talk about turkey, but I do know for a fact that it's in other foods.
And by the way, the reason Grandpa Joe takes a nap after Thanksgiving is because he's already fat and old. It's not because he ate turkey. It's because he had turkey and stuffing and macaroni salad and cranberries.
Right.
And if you're from New Orleans, gumbo. Right, and dessert,
some liquor,
and ice cream,
right, some booze,
and half your bottle of Maker's Mark.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That's why Uncle Joe's sleeping.
Right.
It's not because he had too much turkey.
No.
It's just everything else. So I'll answer the question, right?
Yeah, so I thought a lot. Like maybe
You're right. I have the number.
Yeah.
And this is a crazy number. The average American man to be tired or sluggish, specifically because he ate too much turkey, you would have to eat 8 pounds of turkey.
Come on, nobody's doing that.
8 pounds right now.
No way.
Not like 8 pounds this month. 8 pounds tonight for you to be sluggish tomorrow.
No way, it's impossible.
But that's a coach is like, I'm not leaving anything. I'm nothing. I'm going to make sure we're prepared and ready to rock. That's Danny Hurley, and that's why you got to love Danny Hurley.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. Buy or sell. Thursday night football should end after week 10, George. You're going to buy or sell this?
It's too short a week. It's not healthy for the players. You'll never be able to convince me otherwise here. Either the NFL will tell you, oh, stats tell us, no, it's not more injuries. And that's all BS. All right. Should it end after week 10? In a perfect world, there probably should be no Thursday night games. Should it end after week 10? Sure, I'll buy this. But it's not going to. There's too much money here. It's never going to end, all right? They're going to have it forever. You're lucky there's not a Friday, Saturday schedule as well, and there's some laws involved there as to why there's not. The NFL is going to have a schedule or for any day they can get here. It's all about money here. And if the players don't want it, by the way, you got to realize, well, you're going to lose a significant chunk of revenue out of your salary as well here.
Right.
So I'll buy this, but it doesn't matter. It's not going away.
I mean, George just basically said everything that I was going to say, so what is the reality? The games, so of course I'll buy it. The games are not good. Generally, the home team has a big advantage. If not, the teams are not prepared to play on Thursday night. Yes, there have been some upsets and some underdogs winning. We saw it Thursday night. But the quality of play on Thursday is lower than what it is on the weekends. And there's no end in sight to it because of what George said, the money. That's just all that matters. If Amazon Prime doesn't take it, Netflix will take it. If they don't take it, Apple will take it. If they don't take it, somebody else will take it. I don't know. Hulu, I don't know. You make it up. Someone will. So it is not going away. And, generally speaking, I'm excited every week when the games begin, and then I forget, and then the games usually stink, and I'm like, oh, gosh, this game wasn't good anyway. So George is right. Not going away because of the money.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to the Thanksgiving special here, the Craig Carton Show. Tyrone A. Johnson here as well. As you know, you can send us questions as often as you want. We answer them as often as we can. So I figured this being Thanksgiving, let's run through some of your questions for me and Tyrone.
That's tremendous.
All right. This one I think goes directly to me, but you can answer it as well. Would you rather be a Jets fan or a Browns fan right now?
Wow.
That is tough. Neither team's got a quarterback. Neither team's got a very good head coach. But the Jets have a plethora of big draft picks coming up over the next 2 years. So even though it pains me to say it, I would still rather be a Jets fan.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, if you ask me who will be maybe good quicker, it may be the Browns because the Browns are literally a quarterback away because that defense
Quarterback
is so
away
good.
from what?
From
winning 10-7?
Yeah, from being possibly a playoff team. They don't need that many pieces. I think they need less pieces than the Jets. But for winning a Super Bowl, I would pick the Jets because of all those draft picks.
You're the first guy in radio podcast history to use the word Super Bowl in a sentence with the New York Jets. Congratulations.
If they get,
you're like a trendsetter.
Listen, I love Fernando Mendoza. I've been loving him. I liked him at Cal. I love him even more at Indiana. I believe he's going to be the Jets' next quarterback.
I hope so.
If he's there, I honestly think that's the step one to actually being a real contender.
All right, question number 2. This one is specifically for Tyrone Johnson. Other than turkey, what's one dish you have to have on Thanksgiving?
Oh, well, see, this answer is partially cultural, okay, because I don't think everybody would agree. But for me, it's the mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody's mac and cheese is created equal.
Are you a truffle mac and cheese guy?
You see, no.
A lobster mac and cheese guy?
No.
A breadcrumb on top mac and cheese guy?
None of those.
A Gruyere cheese guy?
No.
A cheddar cheese guy? A white cheddar cheese? A Fontina? A mozzarella? A Parmesan?
So you keep going
a
after
Swiss?
You keep going after the
dill,
cheese.
A Havarti? What freaking cheese do you want?
What kind of cheese? I want the cheese that your grandmama makes. Okay, whatever cheese she has, you got to find a black grandma and have her makes that mac and cheese, and she doesn't know. She doesn't know.
Your grandma makes cheese?
Mac and cheese.
Well, what kind of cheese does she use?
You got to ask Big Mama. She don't know.
Velveeta?
No, Velveeta. Absolutely not Velveeta.
Cheese Whiz?
No Cheese Whiz. All right? They grate multiple cheeses, and you got to grate it. You got to grate it from the block. You can't get it out the bag. It's very important. And Big Mama makes it, and it's delicious. But if I go over to a house of somebody, rather than that side, then I don't want that mac and cheese. That goes much lower on the list. But if it's this mac and cheese, it's quite high on the list, and that's my number 2.
And you don't know what kind of cheese Big Mama uses for her mac and cheese.
I know that cheddar's involved. Okay, but I'm not allowed in the kitchen during that time.
I will agree with you on one thing. You cannot buy pre-shredded cheese.
No.
You got to shred it from the block.
You got to shred it yourself. That wax they put on it's no good.
I'm with you on that.
So these young men out there, you might be going over to Thanksgiving. You might be at Thanksgiving a little bit later on for the first time. Watch her. If she's using that cheese, she's not a keeper.
No good. That's right. And you don't put breadcrumbs on top for a little crunch?
No.
You don't put lobster in there?
No, I eat that at a restaurant. You're talking about it the whole Thanksgiving. But the lobster mac is a hearty dish as well.
It's great. That's why you're going to be sleeping about 3:30 p.m. All right. Next question. This comes from yesterday's show, so that's good. Guys, would you rather be with Bonnie Blue or Lily Phillips? Those are the porn hoes that slept with a lot of guys, but nowhere near as many women as Will
that was on
Chamberlain
Tuesday. We talked about that.
Well, I think Lily Phillips is better looking, and she's less traveled.
Yeah.
Right?
You go there.
I want less wear and tear on the tires than more.
Right. Now if I'm going towards these women, I do appreciate some experience for the skill level. But not
but they're both experienced.
Right. At some point, there's diminishing returns, I would imagine.
Yes, I think when you get to 1,500, you're at diminishing returns.
Right,
yes.
so you got to go with that one.
Yeah.
You have to.
You can't, it's all beat up.
Right, like it's too much. Like that's what I'm saying. You don't want somebody in that scenario to be clueless.
All right, here's the next one for you. Which of your sports teams are you most thankful for this year? So you're an Eagle fan, you're a Sixers fan.
Yeah, Phillies.
Puck Johnson, you're a Flyers fan. They give you nothing. Right? And you're a Phillies fan. I would think Phillies. No, Eagles?
I have to go Eagles because this year, I'm assuming this calendar year,
I just read it the way it says it.
they won the Super Bowl this calendar year.
Yeah, you got to go Eagles.
I got to go Eagles. And they're still first place.
And they're still your best bet to win a championship next.
Yes.
For me, look, I know it's been since 1973, but the New York Knicks went to an Eastern Conference final last year, and they are loaded to go back again.
Yeah.
So I'm most thankful for Knick basketball being back and being talked about amongst the league's elite.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful and thankful for the New York Knicks having the run last year, and then fingers crossed a better run this year.
Yeah.
We didn't get to all of them, but I appreciate your questions. You can keep them coming. What's the email address again?
It is questions@craigcartonshow.com.
There you go. Questions@craigcartonshow.com. More coming up after this.
Oh boy, oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to a Thanksgiving holiday special of the Craig Carton Show. Tyrone Johnson, hope you're having a great day already. If you're sitting in the car listening to us, definitely appreciate that. So it became official, as you know by now, a couple days ago, that the Cleveland Browns did the only thing they could do. There was no wiggle room in this, and who their starting quarterback was going to be. It is Shedeur Sanders. But this is one of those things where sometimes be careful what you wish for, right? Because Shedeur Sanders' second start is going to be up against a team a lot better than the Las Vegas Raiders. I can tell you that right now, as they are playing my dear friend Robert Saleh and San Francisco, who just gave up 9 points. It's their best defensive showing thus far, this year, but only gave up 9 points in the Monday night game against Carolina. To be fair, Carolina stinks also, but they were 500.
Yeah, they're 500
going into the game.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting game. Because there's a better chance that Shedeur struggles against a really good defense, although banged up. No Fred Warner, obviously, but still a very good aggressive defense. And I know what Robert Saleh is already thinking. Robert Saleh is already thinking, I'm bringing the house on every play. I'm going to make this kid as uncomfortable as possible. I don't respect their wide receivers. They have a tight end I got to be concerned about with Njoku, obviously.
Yeah, he's a real player.
They don't have a great offensive line.
No.
I am bringing the heat every time that kid drops back, because what has Shedeur proven in the limited action he's gotten, and even going back to Colorado, like a lot of young quarterbacks, sometimes you're a little gun shy and letting the ball rip.
Yep.
Meaning you hold on to it, you hold on to it, you hold on to it, and then you get sacked 7 times in a game, right?
Yep.
So this will be the game if Shedeur Sanders is not totally overwhelmed in this game and is able, whether they win or not is irrelevant to me. Can they move the ball? Do they have chances to score, right? Where Shedeur Sanders can prove for the final time he belongs in the NFL. but this is going to be a lot different than what he saw against the Raiders.
It absolutely will be, but it's a chance for him to work on his biggest weakness that you just said. How often does he go 1, 2, 3, fire, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fire versus what he normally does? The other part is this is a question for his head coach. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. You on Monday on the program finally saw like he doesn't seem to like Shedeur. Does he put him in a position to succeed via trying to run the ball?
Well,
see if they get some success early that way.
You have to run the ball, obviously.
You have to.
He can't throw the ball 50 times against his defense. That's suicide right there. And remember this from San Francisco standpoint. San Francisco at Cleveland, obviously. Then they get their bye week, and then they get Tennessee. So San Francisco right now in third place in the West, behind Seattle, who they beat in week 1, and behind what I think right now is the best team in all football, the Rams. They beat Cleveland. They get healthy. They beat the Titans. And now San Francisco still has a chance to win that division with some tougher games, obviously, coming up. They've got Indy on the road. They've got Chicago. And then they end it the way they started it with a huge game, which would be for possibly the division against Seattle at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because San Francisco's a better team. We know that.
Yeah.
Cleveland's got a better defense, so I don't think San Francisco is going to go in there and drop a 30-burger on the Browns. Nobody really does. And what we saw a couple nights ago from Brock Purdy was that Brock Purdy's willing to throw the ball to anybody on the field. Had 3 picks in the first half against Carolina, and all 3 were his fault.
Yeah.
But this is why Stefanski, I don't think, right out of the gate, immediately said, yeah, Shedeur's my guy, because he knows how tough this game is going to be. And if the idea now is we're going to now start the process of building Shedeur Sanders up and make people realize he is a franchise quarterback, this is going to be a tough game to do it in. Because I'm bringing the heat.
Yeah,
I'm bringing the kitchen. I'm bringing the sink. I'm bringing all of it.
And actually, the other part is, though, if you really care about Shedeur, for the people out there that love him, and there is a strong contingent of people.
And let me just talk about that for 1 second.
That love him.
As we've said a million times on the show, you either love Shedeur or you don't think he's a star, and you think he's an obnoxious, just an obnoxious, arrogant kid who grew up in the lap of luxury, which he admits he did.
Right.
30,000 square foot house now. Look, he had some family issues not a lot of people know about. As much as he grew up with wealth, he had a tough childhood based on parents being divorced, his dad being a rock star, and all the things that come with it. So I'm not suggesting I would ever want to trade places with a kid that grew up in that environment, but he does come across a lot of times as arrogant and cocky, and that does turn some people off. That being said, if I may, Tyrone, I want to be clear about this because it's a lazy narrative that very small percentage, but a loud percentage of people on social media who love Shedeur Sanders have to say about people like me who don't yet love Shedeur Sanders as a football player. You are allowed to be critical of Shedeur Sanders without being a racist. You're capable of doing it. You're allowed to look at his body of work and look at the things he's not good at and be able to comment on those things and it not being because he's black and you're white. And it's such a lazy narrative that for all the people out there that don't like Shedeur, there's only one reason why. No, it's not color of skin. It's because we haven't seen him be a good NFL quarterback just yet, and because he hasn't had the chance to be. He's getting that chance now, and his talent will either prove out to be worthy of being a starter long term, or he'll be a backup quarterback. But can you leave race out of it, please? Just because a guy comes on TV or the radio and says, I don't believe that Shedeur Sanders is a franchise quarterback, doesn't by default mean it's a racial issue.
No,
it's stupid.
It doesn't. And also, I was getting some of that heat just for sitting here, but to be honest with you. But the other part is, though, if you care about him, though, he needs to go through these things and come out better, because one thing we have to admit is he has to get better.
Oh, he
has to get better.
If you watch any football, you know he's got to be better.
He's got to get better.
To be fair, and he kind of alluded to this at the last press conference I saw a couple days ago, he knows he's got to get better.
Right.
He's not a rock star yet. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not a legitimate franchise quarterback yet. And to be fair, he's only played 6 quarters. So you can't have an expectation that he's going to be like that 6 quarters into an NFL career. That would be unfair for us to judge him based solely on 6 quarters. Now, would I like him to be more humble? Yes, I would. Does that mean he's not a good quarterback? No. Have I seen other cocky quarterbacks who have only played 6 quarters? Yes. Baker Mayfield. Right. Maybe the cockiest of all quarterbacks before he ever played a snap in the NFL.
And it took him a little while to find a home because of that. It took him a while.
Exactly. So all I'm suggesting is before some people anoint this kid as the second coming, let him play for a little bit.
Yeah, you know what
his play will determine what he is.
But he does have something about him that you can't teach. Whatever that it factor is, and you talked about this in the past, he has that. And because he has that, though, we saw that with Tebow to a point. When people get
Tebow had it.
When people get in their corner and they decide to start rooting for a guy, it's very hard to change minds.
Tebow was beloved because, look, he had arguably the greatest college career any quarterback's ever had. So at least for some people, it was based on merit. We saw him win Heisman trophies and national championships. We never saw Shedeur do that at college.
But if you ask me which one is a better thrower of the football, there's no doubt it's Shedeur. Shedeur is a million times better. I said the better thrower of the football. He's a much better thrower. Tebow, I'm going to say this out loud, is the worst thrower of the football to ever win a playoff game in the history of this sport. He's the worst thrower of the football to ever win a playoff game. Chad Pennington was Peyton Manning compared to Tim Tebow.
If I give you a chance right now to have Tim Tebow or Shedeur Sanders, let's say start with their college careers, who would you take?
College careers running.
Hold on, I'm getting there.
I would take Tebow.
Stop right there. You'll take Tebow. All right, if right now today, based on 6 quarters versus a career, if you had to pick one of those two guys to start an NFL game, who would you pick today?
Shedeur by a wide margin.
You can't.
Tim Tebow was a terrible quarterback, and only propaganda keeps us from believing it.
The man
Seems like
won
a good
playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The luckiest thing that ever happened in sports.
Not saying it's not luck.
You can't throw the ball.
But the
he was
man
a terrible thrower.
Won an NFL playoff game.
Running,
with
leading.
a bad throwing of the football.
Good throw.
Shedeur's played 6 quarters. This is the problem. Shedeur fans can't talk common sense. You're guilty, sir.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. Family, you love them. But let's be honest, you need a break. While Uncle Steve explains why he hates the referee, and Aunt Linda asks why you're still single, you can be somewhere else. SportsGrid is live all Thanksgiving Day. Real-time odds, predictive data, and total silence from your in-laws. Escape the noise with SportsGrid.
Hi, welcome back to the Craig Carton Show. Again, happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope you're enjoying your family or the people that mean the most to you. Tomorrow, we've got another huge football game between the dysfunctional Philadelphia Eagles and the red-hot Chicago Bears. Only 3 losses for the Bears. So it looks like Ben Johnson was the right hire there for Caleb Williams.
Yes,
and they're
indeed.
sitting atop their division right now, ahead of Green Bay, ahead of Detroit. Obviously, we got a couple games today. They're going to have a huge impact on what happens. But don't sleep on a little home cooking in Philadelphia tomorrow. And I'm trying to figure out, based on our conversation on Tuesday morning there, Tyrone, as an Eagle fan, all right, who do you blame the most? Do you blame Kevin Patullo? And when I say blame, obviously most teams would trade places right now with the Eagles record-wise and talent-wise. But everyone in Philadelphia knows they're broken right now. They're not going to win a Super Bowl right now, although I think the talent is there to win it. But right now, they're not going to. So do you blame Patullo, the offensive coordinator, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, or you leave it just to injuries on the offensive line?
For me, the number one thing is injuries on the offensive line.
Complaining about injuries.
Injuries across the offensive line. They're still in first place, and they're still going to win their division.
They are, yes.
So,
sadly.
But it's that. If you want to put the offensive line to the side, the next one's Nick Sirianni.
Go ahead. I'll listen to that.
Nick Sirianni is very good at what he does and the if is if everything goes well, if the original plan works. Now, he'll stay the course. If the plan has to change, he's very, very, very narrow-minded. And most great coaches...
So, in other words, if things aren't working, let's say, in the first half, he doesn't have the ability in the second half to adapt and change. He just keeps doing the same thing. That's the rub on him in Philly.
That and...
All-time winningest coach in the history of the Eagles doesn't adapt well on the fly.
It's not always just in the game. It's also his worldview, his seasonal view. If he decided we're going to run the ball, even if they can't do it, he's going to run the ball.
Well, don't you think they should? I mean, Saquon Barkley ran the ball 10 times last week.
He did.
And he averaged 2 yards a carry.
Yes, maybe he should have, but that also led, some of those bad runs led to them being behind the sticks and leads to those 3 and outs.
Yeah, I look at it this way. I think the injuries to the offensive line is the number one problem with the Eagles.
It is.
Just from a talent standpoint of who's on the field. But this may play back into your concern about Nick Sirianni. Right now, I've got a quarterback that is not appreciated the way he should be appreciated in Philadelphia. And if I've got an offensive line that's, I think it's fair to say, banged up and weak right now. 4 of their 5 starters have been out and been injured. 3 don't even play a lot the last couple of weeks. I would stop trying to run the football in between the tackles because I know my offensive line stinks. I've got a quarterback that when you ask him to do a lot is capable of doing it with his arm and with his legs.
Yes.
So I would now, until I get my offensive line healthy and back or some semblance of order on my offensive line, I would sit down with Jalen Hurts and say, look, I'm putting it all on you, kid. I want you running the football. I want you out of the pocket. I want dump offs to Saquon. I want crossing patterns. I want you to play playground football.
Right.
Because I know he's capable of doing it. I would have the ball in his hands 40 to 50 snaps a game. Meaning not handing it off.
Right, doing other things.
Run it yourself.
Right.
I would do misdirection. I would do jet sweeps. I would throw everything at you because I know right now I cannot run the football in between the tackles.
And then also, once you start to have those safeties have to account for him, the run game may get a little bit better if he can beat and get to that second level, talking about Saquon Barkley. But because he's so stubborn, and that is a good thing most of the time, it's not good here. There's another problem that he has. He's a bit of a micromanager when he gets a young coach. He has a guy who's been there like Kellen Moore. He just lets Kellen Moore do his job. He gets a younger guy.
But this guy's been with him for a long time.
But because he's new, a lot of this offense is his.
So
it's not Patullo's offense. It's Sirianni's offense, and Patullo takes the blame.
Well, let's play a new game here on the Craig Carton Show. It's who does Philadelphia run out of town next? Because you guys have a bad history of running your best players in every sport out of town.
Not really.
Eric Lindros, run him out of town. John Leclerc, run him out of town.
He was 100 years old.
Pelly Lindbergh, put him in a car with alcohol.
Come on, that's a cold shot, right? That's a cold shot.
Reggie White, run him out of town.
Norman Braven was
Allen
cheap.
Iverson, run him out of town. We went through this last week. So what great Philadelphia Eagle person is going to be run out of town next? Will you get rid of Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts is the problem. Will it be Saquon Barkley?
No.
We don't pay running backs $15 million a year.
They did pay him.
Will it be Nick Sirianni?
No.
Well, hey. We ran Andy Reid out of town. Maybe
Andy's time was up.
I want to know who's next.
Who's next? It's not going to be any of those. It'll probably be mathematically. It'll be A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown, one of the best wide receivers.
But that'll be in a couple of years.
Run him out of town.
That'll be in a couple of years.
No,
you asked me what's next
this offseason.
Oh, then if that's the case, it'll be a running back.
Saquon Barkley
if you're making me
is
pick.
being run out of town.
I don't think he's going to be run out of town.
Saquon Barkley's going to have like 800 yards this year.
No.
You're going to recognize he's 30 years old. He's old for running backs. We got to get rid of him now.
It's not going to
get some draft
That's
backs
not
back.
what's going to happen.
That's what you people do.
No, that's not true. Everyone, nobody, the owner being cheap is not running somebody out of town. Plus, Reggie White told me, rest in peace, all right, that God told him to sign with the Packers.
He didn't tell you. He told everybody that.
Well, he told me too.
Yeah.
He told me as well.
Which was interesting because Green Bay made him the biggest offer.
Well,
I guess God wanted him to be rich.
Well,
and he succeeded.
If you're going to tie 10%, you want to tie 10% of $1 million or $10 million.
You ran Seth Joyner out to Arizona.
Listen.
You ran Clyde Simmons somewhere. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, things happen.
You ran J.C. Kelsey off to ESPN.
Man, he ran himself off.
Right?
He still lives in the area. He's in Seattle at the shore.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's there quite often.
But think about that. In Philadelphia's history, you don't keep, other than Mike Schmidt, you don't keep anybody. And you guys hate Mike Schmidt.
No,
Philadelphia is not a place to grow old if you're a great athlete.
They kept Dr. J all the way. Dr. J all the way to the end.
Well, they got Dr. J late, too.
Now, I will say, I never will forgive Joe Banner.
Joe Banner was the former head GM and president of the Eagles.
He got rid of Brian Dawkins. He went out there and played great for Denver.
Brian Dawkins,
Hall of Fame. That was one man.
You guys have
Joe
run
Banner.
off every great athlete in your history other than Mike Schmidt. And having lived in Philly, you guys hate Mike Schmidt.
He doesn't have the best personality.
When I first got to Philly in '93, and I go, oh, Mike Schmidt, right? And here's the first thing I was told. I'll never forget it. Mike Schmidt had 500 some odd home runs in his Hall of Fame career. You talk to a Phillies fan in the 80s and late 70s, they will tell you without blinking, Mike Schmidt never hit a home run that mattered.
500 of them. Yeah.
500 meaningless home runs. Ooh, Philly special, boy.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said
earlier.
earlier.
He got hit behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. Final segment here on a Craig Carton Show Thanksgiving special. Tyrone Johnson. Again, hope you're getting to wherever you need to be today well, and we appreciate you giving us a shout on this holiday. Tyrone will be here tomorrow doing a solo show.
Yes.
Lots of games to get to from today, and of course, the Eagles-Bears game Friday afternoon. I wish that was a primetime game, honestly.
Me too.
I don't know why they do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
No idea.
I like 6:30 would be okay, 7:30, 8 o'clock. It should be under the lights.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that, but I'm not king of the world yet, so I don't get to determine when these games are. That being said, my guy Tyrone's having a pretty good year picking games for you guys. Remember this, of course. Don't follow his picks unless you're a suck. If you have picks, make them. Gamble within your means. And if you lose at 1 o'clock, that doesn't mean you double down at 4 o'clock. And a day like today, you have 3 levels of games. So pick the one you like the most. That's the only game you should bet on. Don't chase good money after bad. That being said, are you ready to rock?
Yes, I am.
Tyrone A. Johnson's first ever Thanksgiving Day guaranteed winners.
Yes, start off with the first game. Obviously, we'll go in order. I like the Packers plus the 2.5 against the Lions. The Lions have not looked like a good football team lately, and I think that and Micah Parsons is playing maybe his best football, not only of his season, of his career. I like the Packers on the road to cover the 2.5.
I think it's a playoff game, and Green Bay's had success on Thanksgiving on the road, obviously all the time. And Detroit's season hangs in the balance here. Mm-hmm. You are not getting 3 teams out of that division into the playoffs. You're just not. And right now, the Chicago Bears, and they play tomorrow against the Eagles. So if we chalked it up as a loss, that'll be the Bears' 4th loss, meaning the winner of this game is now in first place.
Yep, right there.
The loser is a wild card team stuck with the Chicago Bears at 4 losses. Now, if Detroit loses, they'd be at 5 losses. But the winner of this game is now in first place and gets a home playoff game. Huge game. Green Bay's got as good a chance as anybody to go to Detroit and win.
Yeah, this is the best Thanksgiving game that we've had in a while with both teams being contenders. The next one, though, also a big one. Also a big one. The Cowboys have looked good lately.
Yes.
But I do not trust the Cowboys. For that reason, I like the Chiefs on the road minus the 3.
All right, Chiefs got over 500. They're 6-5. They're still on the outside looking in. I know a lot of people think after beating the Colts, the Chiefs are going to start their run right now. The Chiefs are an average football team now.
They are.
This is Dallas' season. If Dallas thinks they're going to vie for that last wild card spot, they got to get to a 6-win right now. The tie they had with Green Bay is going to come into play later on. They have to get this win. And if they do, then the Chiefs can't make the playoffs. This would knock the Kansas City Chiefs out of playoff contention. And would you say the Chiefs are favored?
The Chiefs are favored on the road.
I don't know how you picked this game, but go ahead and do it.
Yes, I like the Chiefs minus the 3.
Come on.
On the road. I do. I just do. I do not trust the Dallas Cowboys. If the Cowboys win this game, maybe.
Do we know who's officiating this game yet?
Oh, I'm sure we can find it, but
I will check right now.
On the officials. You're going to check the officials, and should I move on to the third game?
Going to the third game. I'll see if I can find who the official is for this game.
All right. The Ravens have been winning lately, but they have not looked good, and I'm wondering if Lamar Jackson is healthy. That's a big concern of mine.
He's not looked great the last. They've won, but he's not looked great.
And I believe it's because he's not all the way there. All that said, the Bengals are an absolute dumpster fire. I like the Ravens minus the 7 against the Bengals. I like them to cover the spread in large part because the Bengals stink, but I am very worried about if your prediction can come true. Can the Ravens win out if Lamar Jackson is closer to 50% than 100%?
If he's 50%, I don't think they can win out. If he's 100%, they certainly can. Look, they got the gift they needed with Pittsburgh losing last week. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers didn't play because of the broken wrist on his non-throwing hand, but that gave Baltimore the division lead again. So now they can totally control their own destiny.
All the way through.
They win, they're in. And they'll get a home playoff game. Look, I know Joe Burrow is probably coming back and playing tonight, but I don't think that changes a damn thing. I don't. The Bengals defense is not very good. Their offensive line is not very good. I could even make the point of suggesting that Joe Burrow shouldn't play. Like, what's the upside? Right? You got $250 million committed to him. Your season is over. You only have 3 wins. He's already banged up again. Why play him?
I think the reason is you got to keep some of those guys are long-term guys. like Jamar Chase coming back from suspension. If you don't play him, you're basically telling those guys to quit. I think that puts a bad taste in a player's mouth. Also, you have a group that does not like the owner. These guys want to play.
Well, look, forgetting about spreads, I think Green Bay wins on the road against Detroit.
I agree.
I think the Cowboys beat the Chiefs by double digits.
I
think it's a rout.
I like the Chiefs in a rout.
And I think the Ravens blow out the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Look, we appreciate you tuning us in on this Thanksgiving. Get there safely, get home safely. Friday, you've got Eagles and Bears. Tyrone will be your solo on Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your family. And thank you so much again for giving this show an opportunity and for watching the Craig Carton Show. I'll be back Monday. Everyone will be back Monday. Enjoy your long weekend. Have a blessed time. Peace out. Happy Thanksgiving.